The Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago.
We, CERN, are trying to understand matter.
1219.
We built a world-class physics
Start Power
laboratory
Group
with the most powerful particle
1220.
accelerators.
After CERN physicists had received several Nobel Prizes for their work,
We built a bigger machine, the LHC, with bigger detectors.
Alice,
Atlas,
CMS,
LHCb. And after billions of collisions, we finally found it.
the Higgs boson.
We are a driving force for technological innovation. The scale and demands of our accelerators, detectors, and computing infrastructure,
Constantly push the boundaries of technology.
together with our member states, associate member states, and partners across the globe.
We develop state-of-the-art technologies in
Start
different
Power Group
domains.
1223.
Technology that impacts and
Start
saves
Power Group
lives.
1224.
When the World Wide Web was invented, we offered it to the world.
1.8 billion websites today run on the World Wide Web for almost 5 billion web users. The technologies and scientific advances behind high-energy physics, through developments in accelerators, detectors, and computing, have historically contributed to the field of medical and biomedical technologies,
They also extend to a vast range of areas.
such as aerospace, Industry 4.0, cultural heritage,
We are supporting the companies that use CERN technology and know-how, also through the network of business incubation centers,
human capital,
education,
outreach,
and open science. We are a powerful model for international cooperation,
taken as an example by other intergovernmental organizations and endeavors.
including in the field of climate change. We work
Start
together
Power
for a
Group
common good and are a proven source
1228.
of inspiration for future
Start Power Group
generations.
And a model for other
1229.
international research projects. Did you know that €1 invested in CERN's research brings back €1.8 to society?
Fundamental research in particle physics not only pushes back the boundaries of our knowledge of the universe,
But also catalyzes innovative technology developments.
we have had and will continue to have an impact on all of our lives and on the world around us.
Understanding our universe means going further than outer space.
We
are
are CERN, and we are going back to the origin of our universe
Pushing science,
and pushing technology.
This is a time where you must be awake. You cannot let your mind be asleep to all that is occurring and expect that if you are not actively engaging in spiritual discernment, that you will be ready for the major spiritual delusions that are being planned and waged against us. Since the beginning of this ministry, I have tried to make it a point of emphasis that I do not speak about things that I do not completely understand. I try to discuss topics that I have done strong research on and have a fairly decent understanding of, because in no way do I ever want to mislead anyone. But this topic is something that I have been led to discuss, though I admit I do not possess an intimate knowledge of what is actually going on behind the scenes. Now, this is not for lack of trying or research, because like I do with any subject, I have engaged in extensive research on this. So research has not been the issue. The issue is that what is actually being done is not actually spoken of clearly, and the true intentions have not yet been revealed. I mean, they speak about it. The media even speaks about it and references it.
The world's most powerful particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, will reopen today after 3 years of being shut down for improvements. Scientists around the globe are hoping that the upgraded machine, which is massive, will be able to detect new particles and start a physics revolution that could forever change our understanding of the whole universe.
They speak about it or show it in our movies. But the words and the descriptions that are used are very vague, and unless you are remotely scientific, their descriptions can sound like they are speaking in a different language. And here's the thing, though they could absolutely keep what they are doing a secret, they have chosen to let us know that they are doing something. And it is this something that we all that hear about it desire to know. One question is this something that is fake or misleading? very similar to the experiments that they like to show us in space. This science experiment is either very fake and all about misleading the public, or it is real and the agenda is very sinister. Now, I will let you know that I do not believe the experiment to be fake, and I will explain in my reasoning. Normally, when they engage in misleading propaganda, they really like to fool you up with it. They have major reports from many different angles, and they make sure that even the simplest of minds have an understanding of what it is that they are doing and why. Because when they are engaging in a lie, the whole point of it is so that people hear of it, they understand it, and that they believe it.
What does a black hole sound like? It's a question that astronomers have been trying to answer for years. Scientists say they knew there was sound in the black hole at the center of one particular galaxy cluster for nearly 2 decades. But now they finally made it to audible to the human ear.
But when it comes to this agenda, they do not engage in the same manner. They speak about it. They give very basic references like speaking of recreating the Big Bang, but they do not give much more. They know everyone doesn't have the same scientific backgrounds as those that are in charge with the experiments. But even though they know this, the people that they have speaking on it speak as if they are dealing with the most intelligent population in the history of the world, when it actually is quite the opposite. Anyways, there are agendas behind it that go along with this experiment. For instance, there is one word that the system has been using very often as of late, and that is the multiverse. They have been using this term and started distributing it, while never really letting people understand what it is. And then they use their biggest worldwide indoctrination source for Marvel as a way of pushing out the idea. But again, they have not explained what it is. But it absolutely has to do with the experiments they are doing at CERN with the LHC. There is also the Mandela effect, which I have always been hesitant to speak about on this channel because of the major implications that go along with it. There are agendas that all coincide with this experiment. And though I don't believe that at this point, based on their secrecy and their level of hiding the truth in plain sight, I don't believe that after this video, everyone is going to be experts in the experiments done at CERN. But I do believe that I can provide enough information that allows your eyes to be open, your spiritual discernment provided by Yah to start working, and allows your guard to be up for whatever they have planned with this agenda. So we are finally going to talk about CERN and what it is that they have been doing with the LHC. I will try to provide you history of what they have been doing, the symbolism and rituals that they have done, some of the theories that are made about the experiments, and if time allows, an introduction to the agendas that surround this massive subject. And from all this, in the end, I hope that those with ears to hear are able to use discernment and see what is actually taking place. Let's begin. So, before we discuss and get on into the nitty-gritty, when discussing these kinds of topics, it's important that people know exactly what they are talking about. Understanding is key. When people say what is happening at CERN, for the most part, I believe that people are speaking of this machine right here. I believe they believe this is CERN, and that is not correct. So we need to do just a little backtracking and clearly define what it is that we are speaking of. So what is CERN? CERN is the name of an organization, not a machine or technology. CERN is a European research organization that operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. What they say is that the name CERN is derived from the acronym for the French Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. I don't speak French, so pardon me. But as you learn more about them, you may see that it is not a coincidence that their name is short for the name of the Celtic pagan horn god of the underworld, Cernunnos. But as I was saying, this organization was established on September 29, 1954. It is based in a northwest suburb of Geneva, Switzerland, which is where other organizations, for instance like the World Economic Forum, who is responsible for the Great Reset agenda, and then we have the banking rules that exist in Switzerland, where the rich have always hidden their money. When you understand this, you cannot push their location off as just a coincidence. I do not believe any connections that you will make in regards to this organization are just mere coincidences. So yeah, their facility was built at a northwest suburb of Geneva, Switzerland, on the Franco-Swiss border. Now, CERN is not a private organization. It has 23 member states. Again, no coincidence if you understand the number 23. These are the countries. Member states have special duties and privileges. They make a contribution to the capital and operating costs of CERN's programs and are responsible for all important decisions about the organization and its activities. Israel is the only non-European country granted full membership. So it is an organization not controlled by one particular country or business, but it is funded by over 23 countries. The United States and Japan, the European Union, and UNESCO, which is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, all have observer status with respect to the LHC, which I will get into shortly. But again, what is important about this is understanding that CERN is not that machine, but it is an organization. When you're saying CERN, you're talking about an organization, not a machine. A great deal of the funding for CERN comes from the taxpayers in various Western countries in Europe. Many of you who live in European countries have been financing these experiments with your tax dollars. But that's just a piece of their fundraising. CERN scientists have received hundreds of grants and endowments from governments all across the world, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars, like we see here with the United States giving millions of dollars to CERN. Now, along with the donations from countries, CERN has a fundraising arm that collects private donations from very wealthy contributors all across the world. Now, if you watch my video about modern-day medicine and the Breaking Out of the Matrix series, it should not be a surprise to you that CERN is heavily supported by the Rockefeller family. And this support is not just financial, but also through scientists who work for Rockefeller University, which is of course owned by the Rockefeller family. For instance, like this article on Rockefeller University's site on October 10, 2013. Rockefeller scientists among those involved in search for Higgs boson. At Rockefeller, 10 scientists led by Konstantin Golianos, head of the Laboratory of Experimental High-Energy Physics, were involved in developing particle detectors that were deployed at CERN and in processing and reviewing data they collect. Yeah, they're involved. It should not be a secret to you of the Rockefeller family involvement, though. Again, if you watch my video on modern-day medicine, you would already understand the hand that Rockefeller University has on modern-day science and medicine. The fact is that, though most of us know very little about CERN besides knowing their name and their large machine, the LHC, the truth is that CERN has an enormous amount of control over us. It has subtle controls over us that you probably aren't even aware of. I mentioned this in my most recent Breaking Out of the Matrix video when speaking about the internet, but it should be known that CERN is the creator and the birthplace of the World Wide Web. In March of 1989, CERN created the web, and from the year 1991 and onward, the team at CERN developed the World Wide Web. April 30th, 1993 is the date which CERN gave up the rights to charge royalties for the World Wide Web technology. They developed the technology and distributed it to the world. The internet that we use and are controlled by and every one of us access every day was created at CERN. So let me give you a basic summary of what they do. They push the boundaries of science, and through their experiments and findings, that research gets disseminated to other scientists which expand on their work in different industries. CERN was established to study the building blocks of matter, which is described as the component of everything in the known universe. Now listen, I'm right now using their terms and their descriptions, and it's important to understand that just because I'm saying this does not mean that I personally believe it to be the truth. That's just as a disclaimer for people who like to jump ahead of my points. CERN is the largest scientific research project in the entire world. More than 7,000 scientists use its facilities. They call the organization a bridge for peace because scientists from all areas of the world come together to perform these experiments, even though they have cross-border disputes.
Under the CERN model, physicists remain employed by their national institutes, but can use the tools that the organization provides. Each country is able to keep its best minds. The the laboratory's activities develop quickly. The increasingly large accelerators soon extend into French territory, so CERN becomes the world's first cross-border laboratory, an excellent symbol of science unconstrained by national borders. The purely scientific nature of the research attracts physicists from many nations, despite the political tensions between them. During the Cold War, CERN is one of the few places in the world where Western and Soviet scientists work side by side.
These scientists all were able to work together because there was a bond that was more important than international politics. For almost 70 years, this organization has been working on scientific developments that have been shaping our world, while we have very little knowledge of what it is that they are actually doing. We know they are there, we know they are doing experiments, but we do not know very much past this. They are right in the open, but still a secret. So let's discuss the main part of their experiments. What most people call CERN is actually the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. This device is not called CERN. It is again located and owned by CERN. The LHC is the world's largest known particle collision machine, or particle collider. The LHC is a 17-mile long circle of conducting electromagnets buried approximately 100 meters, which is over 300 feet, below the ground level near the city of Geneva on the Franco-Swiss border. And this is where CERN conducts many physics experiments in particle acceleration. They turned it on for the first time on September 10, 2008. They say the LHC beams proton particles to a velocity just under the speed of light, and then smashes them together inside the particle chamber detector in order to break apart the nuclei and unloose the subatomic secrets of matter. Yeah, that's how they explain it. You can tell that they don't really want you to understand what it is they're doing. If you're not indoctrinated in their scientific theories, all of that may make little sense to you. The main point to understand is their goals, which was said at the end of that. The main goals of the LHC are to answer the question, what is the origin of mass? What are dark matter and dark energy? Why is there far more matter than antimatter in the universe? And will they discover evidence for supersymmetry? These are all scientific jargon that if you get tied into it, it will lead you in their masks and deceptions. I don't get into all that. Talking about dark matter, antimatter, the God particle, that is not for me. There is a lot more to all this than how they like to explain it. With all that they do, you would expect them to explain these subjects with a little more clarity so that it is at least very digestible. But they do not do this because they do not want us to truly know what it is that they are actually doing. So before I get into more of that, let's get into what they say they are doing with the LHC. The LHC, again, the Large Hadron Collider, has been called the most ambitious scientific experiment ever attempted. What the LHC does is try to recreate the moments after the Big Bang. Their 27-kilometer enclosed ring, punctuated by 4 enormous camera-like detectors, mimics and records events. They record these seconds right after what they recreate as the Big Bang. And by doing this, they hope to find the answers of the universe, life, and everything else along with it. And by this information, tied with some other information, you can actually then understand what is truly going on. So, what is that other information? Well, understand, when you hear people say that they are trying to find the answers of the universe and life and everything else, you normally come across this from people who claim to be atheists. They don't believe in God, so they keep saying that they're looking for answers of the universe. But let's be clear that that is not what's going on here. We already brought up the fact that the name CERN is short for the Celtic horn god Cernunnos. And if you understand paganism, all horn gods can be linked to the Greek god Pan, which goes back to Lucifer and the Baphomet. But let's just for now say coincidence, so we don't need to get ahead of ourselves. Let's take a look at where they are located. They are in the community of Saint-Genès-Paulé. This is on the border of Geneva, Switzerland, and eastern France. This community took that current name of Saint Genus in the year 1887. Now, in Roman times, this location was called Apollyon. Just go to Google Maps and type in this word, and it will direct you to Cern. This entire town and temple of Apollyon during Roman times was dedicated to Apollyon, the destroyer, also known as Shiva, Lord Shiva, Horus, Abaddon, a.k.a. Satan or the devil. But leaving out Satan for a second, for those who don't completely understand paganism, just focus on Apollyon. The very city that Cern is sitting on is the ancient temple of the god Apollyon, which today in the Hindu temples is called Shiva, or Lord Shiva, the god of destruction. In the Roman times, a temple existed there in honor of Apollyon, and the people who lived there believed it was a gateway to some kind of underworld. The Hebrew word for Apollyon is Abaddon, and you don't need to go that far to confirm this, because this is literally in the Bible. Revelation chapter 9 verse 11 says, "And they had as a king over them the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek he has the name Apollyon." Yeah, it's right in there. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Hold on. Point we should take here is that we see more evidence of religious influence, which is not what atheists who do not believe in God do. But okay, maybe they didn't know, and that's two coincidences. Look at this. This is the god Shiva of Hindu beliefs. But you know where this is at? Right in front of the Cern nuclear research facility, right in plain sight, is this statue of their god of destruction, Shiva. Shiva is known as the destroyer within the Hindu trinity, which includes Brahma and Vishnu. Shiva is revered along with Vishnu and Brahma. Cern said that this deity was chosen because of a metaphor that was drawn between the cosmic dance of the Nataraja and the modern study of the cosmic dance of subatomic particles. Whatever. Scientists use big descriptions to always raise doubt. That's what they do. I don't need all that extra talk. Just look at the statue. The Shiva statue stands within a great circle, like a sort of halo that has flames going out of it. This is the circle of mass, energy, space, and time, and Shiva is the destroyer. Not to forget what I just said earlier, that Shiva coincides with the Greek god of the underworld, Apollyon, the destroyer. It's the same god, different culture. I mean, that's paganism. This is another religious aspect to Cern, but maybe you are still a doubter and say this is just a third coincidence. If you just allow me to add to that information, just consider that in 2016, a video was released of a satanic ritual performed at Cern. During the ritual, several people in cloaks walk up to the Shiva statue, and then a woman takes off her cloak, she lies on the ground, and then she is then stabbed. This was on the property of Cern, and Cern did eventually comment saying it was a hoax, and they didn't condone this. But either way, anyone that has seen the type of things done at satanic rituals, they can clearly see that something is not right about it all. But whatever. They also did a movie at Cern called Symmetry, where the main character was performing the dance of Shiva in front of the LHC. It's so symbolic and occultic, it's very hard to watch. But that goes with the information about Shiva. Cern was the host of a very strange tunnel opening ceremony at the world's largest rail tunnel near its facility, the Gotthard Base Tunnel. It is said that this tunnel is the longest tunnel in the world. The tunnel cuts through the Alps. And in January of 2016, they had an opening ceremony that was completely occultic. They first had people coming through on a train looking as if they were in some sort of trance, while creepy horror music was playing in the background. After that, a topless angel was walking through the center of evil creatures in costumes. This mindless woman was holding a lamb high in the air as sacrifice. So we have a topless angel, horror music, and a lamb to be sacrificed. But yeah, we're to believe that that was nothing. In the same ceremony, in another rail car that came out of the tunnel, the train was full of evil creatures and Satan was in the midst. The creatures moved around as the Satan character bobbed up and down and screamed and appeared to be controlling the other creatures riding with him. And after he got off the train, he seemed to be in a trance, but doing weird dances. The ceremony seemed to depict that a demonic power that had been sealed behind the mountains had been released. It was very occultic and satanic. Now, at this point, I'm getting tired of just saying maybe a coincidence. But look at this. There's obviously a hidden esoteric project within this organization. This is CERN's logo. In their logo, they have 3 twisted 666 numbers in it. You can't make this stuff up. It's right there in plain sight. Easy to see. So the thing is that they're obviously doing experiments that are deeper than just trying to get the answers to the universe. And if you look into their findings over the last decades, they have made claims to some pretty wild things, particularly what they call the God particle or antimatter. Now here's the thing. I don't claim to really know what it is that they are doing, and I will caution against anyone that speaks with true assurance that they know. This is not something that is just about science, but it's definitely about something more spiritual, especially when you add in the understanding of the other religious coincidences I referred to. No matter what it is they are doing, we must be mindful of it because of the mass scale of the whole thing. In regards to science, they are conducting the biggest science experiments in the world, and we don't really know what the effects of them are. The fact that they are saying that they are recreating the Big Bang just tells us where they are coming from with this. What they are implying is that they deny Yahuwah, the Most High, as the creator of all things, and they subscribe to the theory of life starting on its own. But I don't believe that they believe this because they clearly have a religious aspect to them that stems all the way back to Lucifer. When understanding things from a spiritual side, understanding the occult, one major thing about Lucifer is what he is said to be, is a light bearer. He spreads his light and his knowledge. The terms that they use are all in reference to the esoteric, hidden knowledge, like their love of symmetry. This is a direct reference to the occult. Not to get too deep yet, what it seems is that Satan is spreading his light and giving them knowledge to do things that have never been done before in order to achieve a certain goal. You must realize that in building their LHC, scientists had to literally invent new technologies they did not have in order to make this machine work. They had to invent a computer technology that was able to handle the massive amounts of data that this thing was generating. The kind of data CERN has and uses is very far out from mainstream public consumption physics. Their data is normally kept secret and withheld from the public and only released gradually as they find public adoption for it in the real world. The question is where they are getting this information and understanding from so they can keep breaking these boundaries of physics. And honestly, this is the main point that everyone needs to understand or consider when thinking about this subject. The experiments done here with this organization are about tapping into boundaries and knowledge that we as created beings were not meant to know. The knowledge that they are tapping into comes from Satan and is all about a goal of destroying in order to rebuild. The New World Order consists of many different tools and agendas, and this is just another spoke on a very complex wheel. This science is not about the Big Bang and all that other nonsense. The science is about tapping into another dimension. They are accessing another dimension. Their goal is to connect with another dimension, which we know as the spirit realm. This is all about spiritual warfare. They are connecting to the spirit realm outside the connection of the Most High. They are trying to find ways to manipulate Yah's power and gain more power in the spiritual realm. When understanding this, there is another name that all of this should be labeled as, but because they hide under a banner of science, most people aren't able to recognize what it is that they are actually doing. The word is sorcery, and these scientists are all working towards the same goal, which is increasing the amount of demonic energy in this world. What you're looking at is very high-level witchcraft done right in the open. They are trying to connect to other dimensions and bring out massive demonic energy in this world. This entire CERN project was constructed on occult doctrine. They are all about creating and opening black holes and doorways. They also refer to these as stargates. When you hear about black holes, this is not about outer space. This is about the spirit realm. Matter of fact, here's the key to understanding. When you hear them speak about outer space or the universe, just replace those terms with the spirit realm or spiritual dimension. Their desire is to open up a giant portal to the spirit world to give demons more access to our world to help reshape it and bring us into their new spiritual age. When they say they're trying to recreate the Big Bang, what they're actually doing is trying to replicate the power of Yah. This is one main agenda of what CERN is about, and they have been telling us consistently in our movies for a long time. For instance, go back to the main agenda of the Avengers movies with the Infinity Stones.
Big Bang sends 6 elemental crystals. huddling across the virgin universe. These infinity stones each control an essential aspect of existence.
All of that power was created after the Big Bang. And this is what they're trying to obtain, all of that power. But in their movies, they have been referencing the black holes and the wormholes and the stargates for a long time, trying to get us to understand what it is that they're doing. For example, there was a movie in the 90s called Stargate.
I've never seen anything like this. One man will break the code and open the door.
Well, where they used a portal to go to another dimension. Only to find out that it was the Egyptian god Ra, a.k.a. Lucifer, who built the portal and was using it. Or in that Marvel movie, The Fantastic Four.
They just cracked interdimensional travel.
Where they were building a portal going into another dimension. The first Avengers movie was about Loki opening a portal to bring in his invaders to conquer Earth. These themes and ideas are all in front of us, but they are making it like it is entertainment, so you do not understand fully that they are subtly and quietly introducing you to their schemes. When you really understand the spiritual nature to these things, what is going on in this world makes much more sense. And they are not hiding these things from us. They just distract us with secular thinking away from the ways of the Most High. And this keeps us in their web or matrix, and it distracts us from the actual conflict and plot the enemy has against the Most High. If you pay attention to what it is that they have been doing, you will see that they are preparing us in the secular for the war that they are waging. You will notice that many of our major movies all have to do with the experiments at CERN and their LHC. For example, there was that movie Interstellar, that if you watched it multiple times, you still may not understand what messages they were sending out. But when you then add the understanding of what they are doing at CERN, you then actually understand that that movie was a complete indoctrination piece to the scientific experiments and way of life. All their terms were in reference to their scientific studies, and they made a movie to transmit their way of thought to the unsuspecting viewers. If you saw that movie, think about it. They were going to save the world by going into a black hole, a portal. They were challenging the thoughts of time, where time was something that could be manipulated. It talks about relativity and gravity. This was a movie about the knowledge they attained at CERN. Or how about the biggest movie series in history, with the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame? Now, hold on, let me backtrack a bit. Besides the portals going into other dimensions, there are also different agendas. Now again, I will be lying to you if I told you I completely understand what it is that they were doing. I can only speak in terms of agendas and the thoughts that they are pushing in this world, but I cannot speak in reference to their progress or how far they've gotten. There are a few different terms that you have heard, and what you need to know is that they all stem from CERN. Now for time purposes, I won't go in depth on each one. This video is already getting long enough, and these agendas are massive by themselves. But there is time travel, there is DNA sequencing, and artificial synthesis, and we have the multiverse. Now, in case you were expecting me to include the Mandela effect on this list, the only reason I did not is because the Mandela effect is a mixture between these other agendas. And that is a subject that must be handled with much care. Now with time travel, they say scientists are looking for time-traveling particles called neutrinos. So they are building neutrino detectors. They are in a hunt to manipulate time.
Stalking the wild neutrino is the rarest of sport. The lengths one must go to track them down is nothing short of astonishing. Welcome to Super Kamioka, a subterranean Japanese neutrino detection chamber. We're more than a half mile beneath Earth's surface. You might ask, well, who in their right mind would bury an astronomical observatory so far underground? Those who hunt the most elusive prey in the cosmos, the neutrino.
Now again, I am not here to debate its validity. I'm just speaking to the claims that they make that coincide with the indoctrination that they give us in our films. You will see that they have been filling us with these theories for decades, trying to get us to think in the way that they think. These agendas are obvious points of rebellion against the Most High. But when you understand this, you can see that movies, going back to the Future, are all about indoctrinating us into their thoughts of what they are doing at CERN. Now, in reference to the DNA sequencing and artificial synthesis, they say that it is a known fact that the synchrotron collider at Berkeley was used to help sequence human DNA for the Human Genome Project. And what they say in 2022 is that they have now completed this Human Genome Project. With this smaller collider technology at Berkeley, we can only assume that they have taken things a step further at the LHC. And we even see them giving lectures as early as 2002 in the CERN main auditorium discussing decoding the human genome.
Welcome everybody to this first session of Decoding the Human Genome.
There is evidence to suggest that artificial or human hybrid genomes have already been synthesized at collider facilities. You can Google this on your own. But when thinking about this, you know in Mission Impossible, when they make those masks with real flesh and it looks like cool science fiction, you should know that they have completed this undertaking. They also show it in the Terminator movies, human flesh over a robot, or in the Avengers Ultron movie, where they are trying to make a hybrid version of a human and artificial intelligence robot, from which they got the robot Vision from. They are indoctrinating us in these understandings. And then we have the multiverse. Now, this is a term that popped up out of the blue over the past few years, but they are now making multiple movies about this, indoctrinating our youth, particularly in this way of thought. The multiverse is a hypothetical group of multiple universes, including the universe in which we live. Together, these universes comprise everything that exists, the entirety of space, time, matter, energy, physical laws, and the constants that describe them. The different universes within the multiverse are called parallel universes, other universes, or alternate universes. The multiverse has been debated amongst the physics community over time, but being that they're so aggressive with promoting these thoughts, we have to think about what it is that they are really trying to say. Like I alluded to earlier, Back to the Future was the biggest movie early on that promoted this way of thought, and that's why they love replaying it on television for us, so that program is constant. They want you to believe that you can change the future by going back into the past. But going back to what I was saying earlier about the biggest movie series in history, Marvel's Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, these movies were all about transmitting these thoughts, and they even covered their bases with the indoctrination from Back to the Future.
So Back to the Future is a bunch of
in fact, clearing up that indoctrination because their science had evolved. But if you remember in Endgame, when they all went back in time, and many of us were watching it like, huh? Why'd they do all this? It's because they were introducing us to their whole multiverse theory. So in the end, Captain America lived out 2 full lives after he went back in time. There was so much in those movies, I cannot even bring it up in full discussion in this video. I'm just trying to provoke thought here and bring things into the light that they are not making known, even though the information is right in front of us. After the Avengers, they went full out in their multiverse theory with the movies Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Now, I have not watched Doctor Strange, and I will not do so I do not know specifically what the full messaging is with it. I have had enough of Marvel, and now that you see they're blatantly casting spells in their movies, people must beware. But anyways, look at these last 2 movies. Spider-Man No Way Home was a huge introduction to the multiverse that everyone thought was extremely cool because they brought the other 2 Spider-Man movies in this current one and told us that all these Spider-Mans were different Spider-Mans in different parallel universes. And then we have this new movie, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, that's clear. Multiverse is in the name, and that movie just looks plain wicked and evil. These are all agendas, and they all come from the experiments that they are running at CERN. And now, because they have announced that they have turned back on their machines and running more experiments, they have us all talking about them and worried about what they are actually doing. But the thing is that none of us can really know for certain because they don't talk about it. Like when they turned the machine on before, and many people started hearing what sounded like enormous trumpets from the sky. I mean, at that time, people from all faiths and nationalities heard these sounds all around the world.
This is scary.
It is believed that the sky trumpets are created by CERN in origin, But none of us know this for certain, and CERN has not released any confirmations of this. We do not know what it is that they are doing. Like earlier this week when we saw that avalanche happen with that man filming it all the way until it almost killed him. Was that avalanche caused by CERN? I mean, we don't know. I haven't watched it yet, and I will not. But I've spoken to people that have. And this whole phenomena about that occult series Stranger Things is also about what they are doing at CERN. One of the main enemies in the show is some god of the underworld, a basic depiction of Apollyon. And they are bringing him out through a portal crossing spiritual dimensions, something like that. There is no coincidence that they came out with this show at the same time that they started the LHC back up. The second part of the 4th season came out on July 1st, and they restarted the LHC on July 5th. That is not a coincidence. They are casting spells in the show as well. People are completely opened up to spiritual wickedness, and we honestly have no idea how this will manifest in our physical world. Only the people that are casting these spells know exactly what it is they're doing. If you have watched that show, please repent and close those spiritual doorways. I made a specific video about this. But this Stranger Things phenomena is also a part of the CERN business. As you learn more about what CERN is about, you'll find that there are so many dots you can connect. There are so many spiritual agendas tied to what it is that they are doing there at CERN. In fact, I don't believe they would be as emboldened with all the spiritual wickedness that they cast on this world if it wasn't for the experiments that they're doing at CERN. They are casting spiritual wickedness and demonic powers and energies upon this world, and they are using our media and our entertainment to explain it to us and draw us in and make us numb to it. And you must be awake and spiritually discerned and make sure you are staying away from evil. Because here's the thing about it all. None of us know exactly what it is that they are doing. And what they desire from us is to keep our heads spinning and speculating and attaching ourselves to their agendas. What I know for certain is that the experiments being done with this organization are completely about rebellion against the Most High. And the more that I hear they are engaging in more experiments, the more I have my spiritual guard up for whatever it is that they are doing. Now, in watching this video, I assume that you came here to find out precisely what it was that they were doing at CERN when they turned on the machine. But you must understand, you are not going to find that information out. I watched that whole long, boring process when they turned on the machine and they were giving interviews where people weren't saying anything. They were talking a whole bunch while not saying anything. It's because they don't really want us to know. You're only going to find out what they want you to know. And even in their explanations, they will make no sense if we are not scientists indoctrinated into their way of thought. All in all, the understanding is that they are tapping into the spiritual realm to bring about more spiritual powers from it. This is high-level sorcery, and we have no protection from what they are doing with our physical minds and our mental alertness. These things are not what protects us. Is it good to know these theories and agendas, like I mentioned about time travel, the Mandela effect, the Human Genome Project, and the multiverse? Yes, I believe it is highly important to understand these agendas so that we are not indoctrinated into their way of thought, and we know how to protect our children from them as well. But the truth of this all is that if you are not covering yourself with the blood of Messiah, then you will fall victim to these agendas. I don't care how much you know about it. They aren't working in the physical coming at you. This is spiritual warfare being waged against you, which is why they communicate it through movies like Doctor Strange. You cannot fight Satan with Satan. We have only one protection, and that is through the covering of the blood of Yahusha, the Messiah, whom in English is referred to as Jesus the Christ. Through him, we have power over the spiritual wickedness. With all of this information, never have these scriptures been so relevant to our lives. Finally, my brethren, be strong in Yahuwah and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. That's Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18. Scripture is highly important for you to know and apply in your life. Now listen, I know there were things I did not cover in this video. I tried to be in depth, but in one video it is extremely hard to do. Father willing, if he leads me and allows, I will go more into this. But this point is very simple. Do not place your focus on what Cern is doing. Understand that they are engaging in spiritual warfare, and you need covering from this. All of these things we speak of is about leading the world towards a new world order. And if you cannot get it clearly that you need to pick a side, then there is not much more I can say to you about this. I personally have a cousin, he's like a brother that I love dearly, that have shared so many things and evidences with the times that we are in. He understands a little bit about these times, I guess, but he just feels he has more control than he actually does. And therefore, because of that, he obviously doesn't make the right decision for himself and by consequence his family. I pray that he and anyone else sees the error in this way of thinking. There is nothing you can do besides repent and become born again, being saved by the blood of Yahusha, being indwelled by his Holy Spirit. Judgment is upon this world, make no doubt about it. They are bringing out demons and principalities. Now that they started up their LHC, I expect an increase in spiritual wickedness and chaos. But listen, even without them doing this, I still expected this, because it is clear that we are moving towards a new world order. With this information understanding Cern, we are just now understanding the length at which they are going to bring about this end time goal. So for you, do not focus on what Cern is doing. Label it under the category of high-level sorcery. They have either attempted or they have opened up portals in the spiritual realm to bring about spiritual host of wickedness. The only thing you can do is turn to the Messiah sent to cover us, and he will protect you and keep you in Yah's will. The enemy is working against us all to turn us away from the Most High and lead us into the same judgment he is heading towards. Don't be one who is so foolish to focus more on evil than you are to focus on the solution to this evil. Again, I have friends that we talk about all these things happening in these group chats, and they see all these things happening, but they cannot fully correlate where this world is going and why. They cannot fully correlate the solution to all this and the whole reason why they must submit to him. Do not be like this. As these days move on, they will continue to get darker, and your only solution and option is repentance and becoming born again, being called into the righteousness of our Creator through his Son, Yahusha. The time is now for you to come to him. Do not let evil grow right in your face and believe that staying in the middle is a sound strategy. Father is looking for those who truly love and trust him. You need to clearly define the line on which you stand. Standing in the middle is standing with evil. You will not be protected from what's coming, and in the end, that's on you. This ministry is here to help you through the times and help make sense of these things hidden. But you must come to Messiah and let him be your reconciler to the Most High. The days are getting darker, but those in Messiah, as long as we are here, we will continue to be the light of the world. Let us all rebuke this evil and fulfill our ministries. Let us continue to be a lampstand, shining our Father's marvelous light to the world. These are our days to bring out the glory of the Most High, and we must commit our lives to this cause. So now that you have watched this video and have been introduced to more schemes of the enemy, you no longer need to focus on this. Yah has given you this information so that you know you no longer need to think on it. What he wants is for you to focus on him. So I ask you, will you place your focus on the Most High? Please make sure that you do. He is our only solution. So trust in him and be set apart. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please make sure to like it and please share this video with others. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Elohim willing, I upload every Friday. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. If for any reason you no longer find these videos on YouTube, please go to truthunedited.com for more information. Now, as always, I'd like to thank all those who donate and contribute to this ministry. Thank you. Please know that your donations are truly a blessing to this ministry and they help very much. Thank you for your love, your support, your prayers, and letting Father use you. You're truly a blessing, and I really appreciate your support. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again everyone for watching. Again, do not focus on wickedness more than you focus on our Father. I love you all.